Okay, for this project, we're going to be using the HDPE, which is a number 2 on the bottom of your recycle. So this is my plastic making area. So I have my oven, I have my cut up plastics all sorted into different colours. Then I have my pressing places, so I've actually got some different containers here for making moulds. What I use is tin cans, and then I cut a disc out to go on top, and you'll see how that's being used in a minute. So these are just tuna tins. I use cat food tins, Ovaltine tins, so different sizes, different shapes to make different moulds. Then I have my moulds that I actually purpose made for pen blanks. So I just made a quick little mould up and then put the pen blanks in, clamp it down, and that's for pen blanks. So I bought myself a decent pair of scissors because you're cutting up so much plastic. So I bought myself a decent pair of scissors, and then what I do is just cut them down into smaller pieces so that they melt easier. I find that if I cut a box like that, then you've got somewhere to store them when you cut them. And then I usually do this sitting in front of TV, keep myself busy, but I just thought I'd show you out here. So there you go. But definitely buy a decent pair of scissors, otherwise you end up with blisters from just cutting so much, because you do end up cutting a lot of plastic to recycle. There you go. So I use these containers just to sort out what colours are going into it. Bit too much there. Bit of the white. And some of the black. These are just the shavings from another bowl. And I just put a few of those in to make it the nice marbly effect. Then I put them in the oven. I keep the oven temperature down to 160. Put them in the bowl. And then heat them up. So the oven is 180 degrees Celsius. So when it's coming out, it is hot. You can see that's starting to melt there. If you notice, the milk bottles are starting to go clear in it. So what I'm going to do is add another layer on top. Mix that up a bit. Wearing gloves so that I'm not burning myself. And then wait for that layer to melt. Okay. And what we're going to do is get it into a nice ball. Notice I've got some nice heavy duty gloves on, because it is 180 degrees. So you're trying to get rid of any bubbles in it. So you're really pushing it down and getting all the air out. And then what we're going to do is twist it to get that marbling effect. So do that for a while, and then it will start to warm up a bit. So we just put it back in the oven for a few more minutes, and then do the same thing again. Another lot of twisting and turning. Now, depending on how much you want it blended, it is how much you twist and turn this. So obviously the more you twist it and turn it, the more the colours mix together and sort of swirl. Okay, so I'm going to put this back in the oven and then get the mould ready. I'm actually going to make like a pencil holder, so I'm just using just a plain tin can. I've cut a piece of wood, the size to go in it, a little bit looser so you're not really fiddling when you're getting it in. So I'm just going to put the mould in there. I don't have to worry about putting any mould release or anything like that, because it does shrink a bit as it cools. And if it doesn't shrink too much, you cut the can off and you just get a new can. So it's no big deal. So I'm going to get this out now. Just sort of mould it a little bit so it's going to go in easily. And then you're going to press down. You've got to work fairly quickly with this because it will cool. And get the clamps on. So I just leave that until it cools. It is very hot at the moment because it's been in the oven at 180 degrees. So it's very hot. Actually, I keep it 160. And it will take quite a few hours to cool. You can drop them in cold water to cool them quicker, but I just leave it and come back the next day. So we'll leave that there and come back later. Okay, so it's a couple of hours later. This is now cold, so we'll take it out and we'll turn it. So they shrink a bit when they're cooling, so they usually come out fairly easily. Okay, so this is the blank coming out. Now, I don't mind the fact that it's not quite smooth and everything because I'm going to be turning it down anyhow. So let's go put it on the lathe. I do go to a club and use their lathe a lot more, but because I'm videoing at home, I'll just use this one. It's an old lathe, but it works. With the ones done in a tin, just the baked bean tin, it will actually go into this side's jaws without having to put another faceplate or something else on. So we'll just put it in. So what I'll do now is I'll turn this down flat, I'll turn a little dovetailing, smooth the sides out, then I'll spin it around and do the other side. Okay, most of the time I just use a scraping tool. Sometimes I'll use a parting tool, bowl gouge or detail gouge. But most of the time I find that the scraping tools, because it's plastic, it really works well with the scraper. It's a bit noisy because it's an old machine. I usually go fairly fast and it turns beautiful. It turns like butter. Okay, it's not perfect, but I'm going to do that when I flip it over the other side. I'm just going to sand the bottom off a little bit and get that polished up. I'll flip it over and we'll do the other side. Okay, so now it's been reverse chucked. I'll smooth the outside and then we'll just dig away the middle. So. Here it's still got a little bit of a crease from where it was molded, so I'll just bring that down a bit smoother till I get rid of that. The rest of it's looking really good, so I'll just bring it down a couple more mil. Now the side's nice and we've got that little bend out, so we're just going to smooth the top and then just hollow it down, so right down so we can put pens in it. Okay. So that's looking pretty good now. Nice and smooth on the inside. Let's go. We'll polish it up. I've just gone through the different grades of paper up to like 1000 grit. And Then what I'm going to do is just put a bit of car polish on it. Yeah, I'm just rubbing a bit of car polish onto it. Polish that off and it gets a nice shine. All these shavings, which we then will make another bowl out of. So that will be the next video. The finished product, the marble look pencil holder made out of recycled plastic.